Well, this is Salam Media keeping you company this Ramadan as we continue with the Iftar drive this afternoon, ahead of handing over to Maulana Yunus Kawanga, who will take you through to the time of Iftar in Johannesburg. But before that, we've still got one or two other issues to talk about. One being the outcome of the mayoral elections in Turkey, where the ruling party has clearly received a setback, in fact, a stunning setback, for want of a better term. And shortly, we'll be talking with history, a professor in history and African studies, UCT at Wits University, and also Palestinian studies, Dr. Halim Gençoğlu, who will be joining us very, very shortly. But also towards the end of the broadcast, we'll be talking about itikaf. We'll be talking about maximizing the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan. But it is clear that Turkey's resurgent opposition has trounced Erdogan's party, and with the opposition claiming a big city wins. And this is a huge blow to the ruling party. And this is the reason why we are going across now to be joined by my guest, Dr. Halim Gençoğlu. Dr. Halim, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome. I see we are trying to get hold of Dr. Halim to appear on screen. Well, there we go. I see Dr. Halim has appeared on screen. Dr. Halim, Assalamu alaikum.
Aleyküm selam ve rahmetullahi ve berekatuh.
Yes, Dr. Halim, it does appear as if we have got signal issues, but so there is going to be a slight delay. But let's just talk about this stunning setback that the Turkish ruling party has faced and being defeated in these mayoral elections. Was this expected?
Well, yes, it was kind of expected because of the wrong policies of the current government in Turkey. They have been actually ruling the country for more than 2 decades now, and they did quite a lot of mistakes in this process, in this during this time. Yes, as a leader, we support Erdogan. He is a good leader, but his team wasn't that successful in some points. So I think this is the effect of the wrong policies in this election.
Let us just try and understand the policies. What were some of the mistakes that were made by Erdogan's party?
Firstly, of course, economically, we must accept that they made quite a lot of mistakes. I mean, today, I just give you a very short example. When I came to South Africa 15 years ago, Turkish lira was 5 times stronger than South African rand. So if I change 1 lira here, it would be 5 rand in South Africa 15 years ago. Today, it's amazingly changed. I mean, it's now, even South African rand is now stronger than Turkish lira. So this is, of course, economically affected Turkish people in Turkey. That's one of them, and the other thing is the AK Party. They call their party AK Party. Is I think did similar mistakes what Jacob Zuma did in South Africa. So they kind of divided people. I mean, why in their policy, they sometimes they use some political terms, and it, or maybe it, I don't want to talk very judgmental way, but what we receive from the government, there were quite tension between the opposition parties and the current government. I mean, there was no such a thing before Erdogan came onto power. So these are, I mean, not really pleasant things for Turkish people. And I think recently the Palestine issue, Turkish people, whole Turkish people, they support Palestine, of course, not just because they are Muslim brothers and sisters suffering in Palestine, but also it's a humanitarian issue. It's a crime against humanity. We must accept this. And unfortunately, Erdogan government wasn't that strong to stand against Israeli actions, Israeli crime. So this was another, I think, crucial mistake, because many Muslim congregation, they, in fact, they seriously talk about this even just before the election. So they are not small mistakes. I mean, if you are ruling such a big country in Middle East.
Well,
Yeah.
certainly is, and I think it's actually amazing, Dr. Halim, that how the issue of Palestine and the issue of Gaza has actually, Erdogan obviously very popular at one point in time, but what we've seen is we've seen how this political landscape has been divided due to inaction on the part of Erdogan. Because I know last week I spoke to a Turkish journalist, and the journalist spoke about exactly the same thing. He says there was a lot of talk, there was a lot of hope coming through from Erdogan, particularly on the Palestinian cause. But at this point in time, it's been more talk than anything else. In fact, what he mentioned, that the trade between Turkey and Israel has actually increased a lot more since October the 7th as well. And says the people on the ground, the Turkish people on the ground, are aware of a lot of these developments that are taking place. And this is the reason why they actually losing faith in Erdogan and his party.
That's absolutely true. I mean, you can't, reject these statements. It's not increased. I don't think it's increased. It's stand as it is. I mean, you can't keep your business or relationship with any country. They are actually acting against humanity. This is unbelievable. I mean, and we all know that. I mean, Erdogan government is religious. They always use religion, and they go to mosque. They take photos at the mosque. We know this. I mean, it's maybe it's not bad thing for them, but I mean, we all know that, we all believe that, religion is between God and human beings. So, but if you don't mind to use, I mean, or let's say show this, then you have to show it also against Israel. I mean, you must also consider that Palestinian brothers and sisters are there. Even today, the opposition party, they actually, we call it CHP. It is even, I mean, they are much secular party. It's established by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, founder of Turkish Republic in 1923. So even they are all supporting Palestine, and they say what type of political agenda Erdogan is using now against Israel, because if there is still substantial economic relation between Israel and Turkey, how can you say you condemn Israel? I mean, that's not make sense at all. That's why I'm very proud of South African government about this Palestine issue. I'm really, even I wrote about these things in my papers, in daily papers. I am also a columnist in Kepagus. I also write about these, how it affect actually Turkish people. Turkish people really loves now. They start to actually learn about South African people, how they are strong. They have strong faith against Israeli crime. So this is very important. I think it will also affect Turkish relation between Turkish relation with South Africa.
Dr. Halim, this outcome of this elections, how much of it is it a turning point in, and interesting you made mention of Jacob Zuma, and, obviously he moved away from the ANC government as well. And this obviously is also a turning point for South Africa in terms of our political landscape. And I'm sure this defeat to the main ruling party, to Erdogan's party, I'm sure it is going to be a turning point. And also looking at the political landscape within Turkey, looking at people like the mayor. We talk about Ikram Imamoglu, who obviously, is a chief rival to President Erdogan as well. Where does this actually leave Turkey in terms of its political dynamics? Because we know that Erdogan has been in power for a very, very long time. He's been quite a strong leader. He's survived. He's been a survivor. A few years ago, he even survived that coup that took place in the month of Ramadan as well. And just how does this actually play now into Turkey and looking at the politics of Turkey going forward?
Well, it's definitely affect Turkish current government's policy now. But I must also admit that Erdogan just last night, actually in the middle of night, he gave a very nice speech. I was happy to hear that. He said that we accept this defeat with respect, and this is actually victory of democracy. I mean, honestly, I was very happily hear this. I mean, because Erdogan is there for almost 20 years, not more than 20 years actually. And I mean, and it is a big defeat for Erdogan's government. I mean, if our listeners know the map of Turkey now, if they just see Izmir city, it's the western city at the west in Turkey. From Izmir to Erzurum, it's almost, as far as Iran. Turkey is a big country. All that area now actually now is ruling by now opposition government. So opposition party. So they of course they were going to establish their own now governor, and they will rule the cities. I mean, particularly Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir. We all say that always. Turkish people know this well. If you lose Turkey, if you lose Ankara, Istanbul, and Izmir, you lose Turkey. That's what we say. Just you can imagine that if you lose Johannesburg and Cape Town, you lose South Africa. I mean, that's what we say in Turkey. So it is a big defeat for Erdogan. It's going to affect the general election as well, because you just mentioned Ekrem İmamoğlu. He is now being actually mayor of Istanbul for second time now. And İmamoğlu is quite strong leader as well. And he is, what is difference between Erdogan and him? I don't want to compare any politicians, but he is more secular, and he doesn't come with any religious because actually his party is secular party. I mean, they don't they always separate religious affairs with state affairs, which we call it secularism anyway. So, but they accept everybody, they embrace everybody. So this is what Turkish people is waiting for quite a while. We must see this reality as well. But still, Erdogan is going to be there for another 4 years. I mean, he is going to, the next general election is in 2028. But I think what we can see here now, firstly, Erdogan's government, I still say that Erdogan is not a bad leader. He's a good leader. He has a leadership, definitely. But the people around him messed up in last 5 years. Some of them, they spoiled actually their position. Some of them with many nepotism, and there are actually very good Turkish academics, educated people. They are complaining about many things. I mean, some of them are my colleagues in Turkey. Imagine, they study in many countries, they became masters in their field, but now they are not supporting Erdogan party. That's why they are standing somewhere in passive position. But much uneducated politicians, or bureaucrats, whatever you call them, they are somewhere, they are always in better position. They are holding a chair, like as a president of etc. So this is, in Turkey. I mean, Turkey is a old history. It has an old history, and they know how you rule the country. And we must. I mean, 100 years ago, Turkey actually established with the important people of Ottoman Empire. I mean, they established Turkish Republic. I mean, if Ottoman Empire was the last great Islamic empire in the world, so I mean, we know this history, and in Anatolia, you can't forget where you come from. So I think these things disturb Turkish people. Even we don't need to even separate people and call them something, and they are different. No, we are all Turkish people. We are, alhamdulillah, all Muslim. We don't even have to be Muslim. I mean, we have some minorities, Jewish and Christian. They came to Turkey. They actually ran away from Spain, and we accept them. They live in Turkey peacefully. That's actually what we call Ottoman Empire. That was Ottoman understanding towards minorities. So you must keep this base always if you are talking about Turkish ruling style. We call it millet system anyway in Ottoman period. So that's why Turkish people are a bit tired of this tense. That's why I use that example about Jacob Zuma. Unfortunately, I was here when Jacob Zuma was ruling South Africa. He also messed up. Security issue, corruption, economic problems, they all increase in South Africa, unfortunately, in his time. So, of course, Erdogan is going to pay back for this. I hope Turkish people will be much comfortable after this election, and they will consider also the, Palestine issue more in practically more, inshallah.
Inshallah. Well, Dr. Halim, what you say is very, very true. And this is the point we've been saying all the time. And just in parting, we said that, Gaza has got the potential of changing the world. And we're already
Absolutely.
starting to see it. We're seeing it in elections. We've seen it now in Turkey. We see it in South Africa in the build-up to the elections, how people are aligning themselves to parties that are not supporting that are supporting the Zionist state of Israel. We see it in South Africa. We see it playing out in the American elections as well, how Palestine and Gaza has become a major issue with Afro-Americans, with Arab Americans as well, with the Muslim vote. We see it what has happened in the UK. We saw George Galloway being elected ahead of one of the other parties, one of the Labour parties as well. So Palestine and Gaza is changing the world, and we can see it. And people are becoming a lot more aware. They're becoming a lot more familiar with what is actually taking place. And at the same time, by voting in their own countries, they are actually holding their government and their elected officials to account for what is happening in Gaza in terms of their action or their inaction. So these are very, very interesting dynamics that are actually playing out, Dr. Halim. And I must say it's been equally interesting engaging with you, talking to you this afternoon right here on Salam Media on the Iftar Drive. And inshallah, we hope that we will have a lot more engagements with yourself when it comes to these matters. But for now, we wish you all the best. And also for the rest of this month of Ramadan, all the best to you. And please continue praying for us. We continue making dua for you as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Shukran. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Dr. Halim Gençoğlu joining us this afternoon. And with that, we're going to go for a quick break. We come back and we are focusing on the last 10 days of this month of Ramadan.